Many apologies. I lied, apparently. The next video is another Cold Steel review. Guys, I got a bunch of other knives that aren't Cold Steel, I promise. So I will be doing other reviews. I just had quite a few Cold Steels in the lineup, so I wanted to go ahead and review those and get those out to you. So today we're looking at the Cold Steel Recon Tanto. You've seen this in the past few videos. Me doing some comparisons. Really cool knife, guys. Interesting knife. Cold Steels are known for their Tantos, right? We know that. So let's do some size comparisons real quick before we get into the specs, what I like, what I dislike, and something unique. So let's compare it to this Ontario SP1, which is kind of Ontario's version of the K-bar. So you can kind of see it in comparison to like what a K-bar would be. Right, very similar in size. We're looking at a 7-inch blade on this knife, so very similar in size. Let's look at it in comparison to another Cold Steel, SRK San Mai. So we got very similar, I mean, just identical, essentially. Are these identical? Yeah, they're identical handles. We'll talk about the handles later, but you know, obviously different blade style right here. You got a clip point, but these are both in San Mai. Let's look at it to another one we'll be reviewing soon, the Cold Steel Warcraft Tanto, medium Warcraft Tanto. So a little bit bigger blade on this one, more of a sweep too, right? You got kind of more of a curved blade right there. All right, let's talk about the specs on this really interesting knife. There's my notes over there. You guys just saw that. That's right, I have notes. So we're looking at a 9-ounce overall blade. Remember we talked about another 9-ounce knife? That was the Cold Steel Spartan folding knife. A lot less length on that blade, but this is 9 ounces, so relatively lightweight for a 7-inch blade. 5 millimeters. Like many Cold Steel fixed blades, that's kind of their go-to width, right? It has a 7-inch blade, as we mentioned before. Handle is 4 and 3/4 inches, and it's made of Cray X, which is just Craton. Very comfortable. You guys know I love this material. It can disintegrate over time. I've heard, you know, I've heard on and off things about Craton. I've heard some people have had theirs 30 years, and there's been no issues. I've heard some people over heavy use, you know, it kind of the where the blade, the tang comes in contact with the rubber, maybe that loosens up over time, but there are ways to mitigate that. You know, people have injected kind of glues with like syringes and stuff, and also some people have peeled these handles off and rehandled them, stacked leather, different materials like that. But yeah, so this is Craton. Overall length is 11 3/4 inches. This comes with a Secure X sheath, as most all Cold Steel fixed blades do. Here we go. And let's see, what else? So yeah, Secure X sheath. There's a few different options for this Recon Tanto. Well, there used to be more, but this is San Mai, so we have that laminated steel. You can see that lamination line right there. Yeah, so you have the 420J outside steel, and then in the middle is a VG10 core. So VG10 is a good steel, holds a nice edge, not as well as some other steels, but still holds an edge quite well. They also make this in SK5, which is a Japanese version of essentially 1080. For this one in San Mai, you're looking at around $100, sometimes less, sometimes more, up to $125. Maybe $150. I still think it's a good deal, even up to about $150. For the SK5, you're looking at about $50, so quite a bit cheaper for that SK5. Obviously, SK5 is going to be very stain resistant, so they have it coated in something like this, like a Teflon coating. And then they used to make this in 3V as well. I'm not sure if they've come back with that. I know they came back, started making the SRK in 3V as well, so you can get those for about $150. But yeah, so this is in San Mai. We'll be looking at the San Mai version. So what do I like about this knife? I love this blade. I like this sweeping Tanto. You guys know I love a Tanto, and particularly I like a Tanto that has kind of a sweep to it. The Cold Steel Warcraft Tanto, which I like, has like a very gentle sweep, but it's not quite as much as this. You can kind of tell in the blade geometry. If you look at this, you can see how that kind of starts to sweep up more, whereas this stays more straight. So I like a really nice sweeping Tanto. This is honestly gonna slice better than something like this, because look, this is mostly straight, guys. There's only a belly until you get about right there. Yeah, so this is gonna slice very nicely, and so I like this nice sweeping Tanto blade. Another thing I love is the comfort of this handle. This in the SRK handle, guys, it's just so comfortable. I mean, you know, there are other knives that have very comfortable handles, other fixed blade knives, like the Warcraft Tanto is one. It's a very comfortable handle. You know, it's got those G10 slabs. It's still not as comfortable as this. You just get much more comfort when you have a completely enclosed rubber handle. And it just, there's no hot spots whatsoever. You can use this thing all day, and I have, as you can see, there's some wear on that. So I have used this quite a bit, and there's just no hot spots on this. I even like it more than something like this, which this has a craton handle as well. This is a little bit harder, but it's just not as it's not as contoured as well. I think Cold Steel did a fantastic job contouring these handles to just be very, very ergonomic. So what else do I like? So I like this hollow grind. Now, I don't like a hollow grind that's too shallow or that's too deep, because the deeper the hollow grind, the more delicate the edge is going to be, right? It's just going to be not as strong of a knife. I think Cold Steel, let's see if we can look at this. Yeah, there we go. Cold Steel does a great job at making a very shallow hollow grind. So it's still hollow ground, so it still slices pretty nicely, better than like a flat grind will. But it's not so deep that it's going to make this edge delicate. You want a strong knife. Cold Steel is well known for making strong knives, and so I think they struck a really nice balance of making this ground hollow without it being too deep, so that we have a very, very stout blade that can handle whatever you want it to. So what else do I like? I think that this is really, really lightweight. You know, like it just feels lightweight. It's very well balanced. So I like that how lightweight this is for, you know, kind of the capabilities that you're getting in this knife. You know, I don't know how much this Ontario SP1 weighs, but it weighs more than this. If I had to guess, let's see. I'm weighing them in my hands. I'd say this probably weighs a couple ounces more than that. And really, you're getting the same capabilities out of the two knives. You know, honestly, I think this is designed better. Look at how, we'll just look at this real quick. Look at how, I know this is modeled after a K-bar and it's very similar on a K-bar, but you just don't have hardly any material on that bevel right there, right? So this just, you're not getting a ton of material to slice cleanly. So yeah, it's a little bit more stout than having something that's ground higher up, but it's just not going to slice very well. I still like this knife. It's a fun knife. You know, again, very similar to a K-bar, and it was kind of one of my first quality fixed blade knives. That's why I just keep it around, you know. But, you know, I'm going to prefer something like this. It's more lightweight, and honestly, it's going to perform just as well, if not better. So I like that it's lightweight. So this is one of those rare videos where I actually don't have anything I don't like specifically. I love this blade. I think it's fantastic. I was kind of sitting there watching TV, making my notes about this video, and I was like, what don't I like about this knife? Nothing. You know, there's not really anything I don't like. So there is one thing that I don't mind, and I say it as something I don't mind instead of something I don't like, because it's kind of just a function of Sanmai steel. You can see this on the SRK a bit more because I've used this a bit more. Now, I haven't used this SRK as much as you would think based on the wear. Sorry about that glare. Based on the wear that you're seeing. But you can see how scratched up. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Yeah, there we go. How scratched up this blade is, right? I've used this a bit, guys, but I haven't used it like a ton, as much as you would think with all those scratches on it. The only thing I've really used this Recon Tanto for is some very, very light wood, like just essentially carving. You know, I made my wife a walking stick when we went on a hike recently, and this Sanmai, because the 420 line, or the, you know, the outside 420 is so soft, it just scratches so darn easy. A lot of you are like, I like that. It makes it look like it's used, you know, it's like a battle scar, and that's cool. I think the same way about stuff like this. Like, this looks used and it looks worn, so that is cool. But just the fact that this scratches so easily, I just don't love that. And I say it as something I don't mind instead of something I don't like, because that's just a function of Sanmai. You know, if you want a tough blade, you have to put soft steel on the outside. So I get that about the blade. So that's the only thing I don't mind. There's not really anything I don't like. I think this is a beautifully designed blade. Cold Steel knows how to do Tantos, and that's what's unique about it, is Cold Steel is the master of Tantos. Yes, they have a blade called a Master Tanto. I reviewed that. Check that out in my videos. They've dialed in how to do a nice Tanto, and not just a Tanto that, you know, has a stout tip but no, you know, slicing capabilities. I think they've figured out how to make a Tanto that will both work well as a defensive weapon and also as an outdoors blade, and also as, you know, just a utility blade. Look at that stout tip, right? This thing carves quite well for its size and for its heft, you know, and for it being a Tanto, because of that hollow grind and just because it's ground relatively high up on the blade. So I think that Cold Steel just produces these great Tantos, and this is one of them. This is one of their Tanto blades that I can't find anything wrong with it. Can't find anything to really complain about. I actually absolutely recommend these. I think they're a great bargain. You know, if you get the SK5, it's still going to be a great knife. I prefer, obviously, the Sanmai or the 3V. If I had to pick, of course, I'd probably pick 3V. 3V is a great steel. This is going to be more rust resistant, but it's still not going to be as tough as something like 3V. It's still going to be very tough, don't get me wrong. And it's just not going to hold its edge nearly as well as 3V will. So if you have, you know, you live in a more moisture-prone environment, or you're doing a lot of outdoor stuff, you know, in that environment, Sanmai is a good option. But I think it's a bargain at any price, really, especially the SK5 at around $40. Pick one of those up and just thrash on it. It's probably never gonna break. I think they're a fantastic knife. That's the review on the Recon Tanto. I absolutely recommend it. Pick one up. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.